Sweethearts and Heroes on Wednesdays. This is when and you see I got my Free Hugs shirt on. This is when we take a dive into some real good stuff that's happening. I was going to say here in Vermont, but it's really everywhere. This is a student empowerment and empathy activation team that has infiltrated itself into not just schools here in Vermont, but schools across the region. They are making amazing strides far beyond the classroom by spreading kindness, spreading understanding, pushing empathy and hope in the minds of so many young kids, and just trying to get kids to be a better version of themselves. And I'm not just talking about littles here. I'm talking about high schoolers, maybe even mostly. Heather Gottlob with us. Good morning. Heather, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh gosh, JD, I've been a teacher at Ausable Valley in New York State, South Plattsburgh, I'm going into my 23rd year now, to all levels of English, 7th through 11th. But most recently, I've been focused on ninth grade. And it's in that ninth grade class that I introduced to them 13 Pillows a few years ago after Tom and Rick made a visit to our school about 5 years ago. And Tom introduced this book to me, and I read it. And I asked him one day, I said, well, what do you think about me teaching this book to my students? And he said, well, that wasn't really the intention of writing the book, but, he was fully supportive of me doing it. And I did. And I'm telling you, JD, it was a game changer. It was huge for not only the students, but definitely for myself as an educator. It opened my eyes to a lot that's going on with our students right now.
The book here, 13 Pillows for Effective Teachers, were you part of writing that?
I wasn't part of writing the book. This was actually it was a project 15 years in the making for them to write this book. But what I have been part of is creating an entire teacher curriculum for the book. After I taught it to my own students for the first time 4 years ago, I started working more closely with Tom Murphy and Sweethearts and Heroes and created an entire curriculum for teachers to use to teach this valuable book to their students.
So just to recap here, because we may have missed this, you've taught at Ausable Valley High School for the past 20-something years?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, as an English teacher, you are well aware that we've got a misspelling here in the title of the book, which is actually intentional. What's the difference between effective with an A and effective with an E?
Oh, there's a big difference, JD.
Come on, let's hear it.
So in New York State, teachers are graded, if you will, based on their performance and how highly effective they are as a teacher. And as Tom would say, he thinks that's just a bunch of baloney. Any teacher that you probably remember from elementary school straight through high school probably is memorable, mostly because of the human side of them, right? Because they were effective. And that's really the principle of this entire book, JD, is the book breaks down 13 pillows, if you were. There are 13 characteristics of what makes an effective teacher. I'm going to ask you a question, JD. Tell me, no. Yes. Who's one of your most memorable teachers? Do you know their name? Can you tell me a little bit about them?
Yeah, I would say, I'd say Mrs. Rockwell, third grade.
Okay. And what was so memorable about Mrs. Rockwell?
I think that was memorable for me the most was that my first impression of her was just that she was just frankly a mean old lady, and I put her in a box almost immediately, and within I would say, yeah, this was a long time ago, but I would say within probably a couple of months, I started to see the other side of her. And
Oh,
of course, you know, third grade, I'm not really walking around verbalizing this. I'm not coming home saying, you know, Mom, I've discovered that there's another side of Mrs. Rockwell that that deserves respect and you know, something that's notable here. But I just remember that. I don't know.
that's awesome, JD. That's exactly what we're trying to teach, if you will, through this book, that we're not seeing students just as numbers in the classroom.
Yeah.
That to be an effective teacher, you really have to see the human side of them. Everybody loves to be seen and valued and listened to. And that, above all else, is what students need before they can learn any sort of content. They need to feel that they are seen and they're respected. And that's what makes an effective teacher. And like I said, these 13 characteristics, this book kind of breaks it down chapter by chapter, giving little life lessons, if you will, little accolades, little stories that every teacher, whether they're brand new or very well seasoned, everybody can relate to these characteristics.
Can you highlight one or more of one of these characteristics, and maybe something that you've really incorporated into your curriculum more than any other?
Absolutely. I have a couple that I would love to share with you if time allows, but one of my favorite parts I'm going to share with you right now, I've got the book in front of me, comes from the chapter called Marathon versus Sprint, which is the first pillow, the first lesson, if you will. And it's kind of like life, isn't it? That life it's not a sprint, right? It's a marathon. You got to take it slow, right? Sometimes you take steps back, you take steps forward, long and steady, right? So there's something in this chapter called the pillow test, JD, and I'm going to share that with you and then share with you how it relates not only to my job in the classroom, but also how I've really made it part of my own life. So it's simple. When you put your head down on the pillow before falling asleep, how many times can you say, I'm glad I did? I'm glad I did what? Anything. Perhaps you're glad you had eggs for breakfast instead of a waffle. Maybe you're glad you achieved a personal best on your morning jog. You could be glad you helped the old janitor pick up trash today. Whatever it is, if you can say, I'm glad I did, you say it. What if I didn't do something? What if there was something I wanted to do, but I didn't do it? Then you say, I wish I had. I wish I had helped the janitor pick up trash. I wish I had eaten eggs for breakfast. I wish I had had a conversation with a student going through a fight with their friends. If you have more I'm glad I did than I wish I had statements, you have successfully passed the pillow test in pursuit of your best self. And you know the best part? The reflection every night builds a process of behavior. It creates a sharper consciousness in our daily lives. You're no longer counting your days, but making your days count. And each night the game resets, allowing you to reflect and prepare to do better tomorrow. And I think that is such a valuable lesson, and it's something that I've passed on to my students. And it's really the simplest thing that you can do, JD. You can do it tonight. Everybody listening can do it tonight. Before you close your eyes and settle into sleep, you just ask yourself those two questions. What's something that you're glad that you did? And what's something that you wish you had? And then tomorrow, maybe you'll face some of those things a little bit differently. And maybe the following night, eventually, those things you wish you had done, maybe day after day after day, consciously and subconsciously, you're going to be shifting away from that and just creating a better version of yourself, better choices.
Those two questions are so profound. They are, there needs to be, Tom needs to make some T-shirts that that have these questions on there. Maybe one on the front and one question on the back of the shirt.
I like that idea. Yeah.
But here's another thing is, and I know Tom and Leon and the rest of the team at Sweethearts and Heroes are often watching and listening. I have a suggestion for your whole team here, and you know Tom's an idea guy.
Yes.
You all know that very, very well. I would love to see a 13 Pillows poster with those two questions on it that you could thumbtack to the ceiling above your bed. Because sometimes we all know that sometimes we often pull back the sheets and get in bed and we're just exhausted, or we're distracted, or we're consumed with something that happened today, or what we forgot to do today, or something that we need to do tomorrow that we forgot to write down, or whatever. And we're just consumed. I mean, some of us probably hit the pillow and so hard that we bounce. And I understand that, but for many of us, we can get into bed, and before we close our eyes, we're looking at the ceiling, but we're not seeing what's on the ceiling. We're just seeing and hearing what's in our head.
Exactly. And I think what I love about this is no matter where you are, no matter where your head is hitting the pillow, no matter what kind of day you've had, you can put that into practice. You can make that part of your daily routine. It's powerful. It's super powerful. And I'm just a huge believer in habits. Every morning I fill out a page in my gratitude journal.
Wow.
But this JD is something that each and every one of us can do. And I challenge everyone listening to start to put that into practice. Even just one thing that you wish you had done, one thing you're glad you did. And it will give you peace of mind. And you will, I believe, if you continue this practice over time, you will wake up the next day and you will start to notice those little things. That's what I've noticed with my gratitude practice, because to fill a page of gratitude from the past 24 hours, you have to notice the little things. It's the same thing with these two reflective questions at the end of the day.
Why wasn't this type of messaging pushed in the classroom when I was a kid, man? It's like I just wish that it was all through elementary, middle, and high school. I mean, this is big stuff here. This is far beyond.
It is. This is planting those seeds that I like to call, right? Planting those seeds that you can carry with you beyond the classroom, beyond school, into the rest of your life. And some of those little habits that you can make every single day can literally change your life.
How do you incorporate this into your curriculum in terms of reading, writing? You're an English teacher.
Yeah.
Are there projects? Are there assignments that reflect on this?
I take certain elements of this book and I kind of weave it into everything that I do. So whether I'm teaching The Outsiders or teaching Of Mice and Men, throughout the book, because I have these conversations with the students, and because I might start class one day and say, oh, guess what I said last night when I was reflecting, one thing I wish I had done. And I just share that with the students a little bit, and one thing I'm glad I'm done. But then I throw it into the students' hands and I'm like, we're reading this book. We're in the middle of Mice and Men. We're talking about George and Lenny. As they go to bed tonight, after everything that's happened in this chapter, what do you think they would say? So I take those little seeds, those things that we're talking about every single day. Of course, we're applying it to the literature, but maybe some of those things are things that they can go home and, you know what? I can think about those things for myself too. It doesn't have to be about these fictional characters. It doesn't have to be, about this essay that we're writing about so-and-so. They can take those things and carry them forward into their own lives.
You and I both have a daughter. How old is yours?
17.
Mine's 10.
Oh.
I'm absolutely, I say this half jokingly, dreading the teen years, but also I'm joking. I mean, I very much am looking forward to it. But if 10 is any kind of constellation of how it's going to be. I am trying to buckle up constantly. How do you? Is your daughter in your classroom?
No, she actually had gone to another school. She transferred to my school during her 10th grade year, so I never had the opportunity to have her as a student. And she just graduated high school a year early this year. So she's off to college in less than 3 weeks, JD.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sheesh. So what have you done with her with this type of message? I mean, different school. I'm guessing this book has not been introduced to her in the classroom.
Right, exactly. But there's certainly elements of this. For example, what we just talked about, the I wish I had, and all of that. I model that at home. It's not just something that I'm speaking about in the classroom. She sees the books that I have filled out of gratitude journals. She sees my daily practice. I never ask her to do the same thing. And I just model that at home, and I give her grace, and I give her freedom to kind of navigate through things on her own. But I think, and I believe, and I hope that at the end of the day that I'm consistently modeling something that's positive for her, something that maybe she's not going to reflect upon now because she's 17, but maybe in 10 years, she'll be able to look back and be like, oh, Mom did these things every single day. Those habits that she had, put certain things in place that helped her be the mom that I can look up to now as an adult, and those types of things.
It's
a practice. It's a practice, JD. I don't have the book. I don't have the rules. You don't know. And I think that's one powerful thing about being a parent, right? Is that you don't have the guidebook, and we're just doing this for the first time. So day to day is going to be different, right? But again, at the end of the day, you reflect. Hopefully, if there are things consistently that you keep saying you wish you had, maybe you wake up that next morning and you make more efforts to plant those seeds to make some different habits.
Does your daughter see you flip open your gratitude journal and write something in there when life is sucking hard?
Oh, I've shared some things, not only with her, but even my students, because they're so curious. They're like, how do you fill a page every morning? And that creates some really powerful conversations. And I've shared with them, even on my really challenging days, the days that I wake up not knowing how to get through the day, just knowing that I have to just inhale, exhale, repeat, I still force myself to do that. And why do I do that? Because building those habits, it's not for the good days, JD. It's for the struggling days. If I didn't have those habits on those struggling days, I wouldn't have those things to fall back on. And that, to me, I think is super powerful. And that idea is threaded throughout this book. There's another section of the book that I wanted to share with you, called Wilting Flowers, which I just love. I'm going to read you a passage. Let me find it. My parents used to be florists, he said. They owned a nursery back in the day before my father became a lawyer, and we moved to the city. One day we were walking through the nursery and we passed this bushel, and my dad stopped me and asked if I'd noticed anything. We took a few steps back and he pointed at a single flower with wilt. Never walk by a wilting flower, he told me. And to this day, it's a lesson I prize above most. And it continues later on. Are the wilting flowers students? The ones who struggle in silence, yes. Plants feeling human-like emotions is a little far-fetched, but it's a less stretch to say that our words positively or negatively affect a wilting student. When we take a young person facing a secret struggle, he pulled on the sliding tin door and it squealed from the rust, and you sprinkle them with hope, we meet some of their basic needs of significance and acceptance. And when I read this for the first time, and I go back and I read this many times, and I often have different perspectives depending on where I am in my life when I read it, but we are surrounded not only in schools, but in life by wilting flowers. Every single one of us, you and I included right now, are struggling with something. And my struggle may not be anything like yours. And from the outside, my struggle might look like nothing. And some people might question, well, how is that a struggle? That wouldn't be a struggle to me. But who are we to judge the wilt that we all carry around with us? And I think that's the one thing, the one common thread, no matter where you are in this world, is that to struggle is to be human. Let me say that again. To struggle is to be human. There isn't one person on this earth who has never struggled with something. And I know it's so cliche, be kind, spread kindness, but my God, it is so true.
Yeah.
It is so true because, and going back to the classroom, there are so many students wilting, and you would be surprised, JD. I hold circle conversations with my students, and man, over this past school year, I had one class, they blew me away. Half of us were in tears one day. The connections within that circle that I had no idea about, that they had no idea about, that they were able to just be vulnerable and share. And the amount of wilt that I realized was sitting in that circle, amazing. Even more amazing that these 14, 15-year-olds can carry around this wilt, and in such a way that so many people, adults included, have no idea what they're carrying.
Yeah. I hear you loud and clear. I had a circle experience with Tom and some students, all about 16, 17, 18 years old. And I was stunned at what I heard, but both amazingly positive stuff and some hardship too, that these kids are carrying around, and probably one of the biggest takeaways for me is that when they had the mic, it was their opportunity to speak, and others were forced to listen, including myself, which was not easy because I always love to follow up with questions, and I'm just curious. And when they were done and the mic was handed to the next person, I had this feeling of wait, hang on, go back. And I wasn't allowed to do that. And I left there driving home thinking, wow, this is really amazing. And I said to myself, can you imagine if this type of stuff was being done when you were in high school?
Yeah, imagine that. I think about that all the time. Yeah.
Really is something. Back to your gratitude journal and how you bring that into your personal life, you bring it into your classroom. It makes me think of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. A international researcher, speaker, author of some incredible books, who basically says that our thought patterns are hardwired into our brains, and that our reactions, our emotions, our behaviors often are the result of our thinking habits. And that we can easily get stuck in a rut and feel like we're having the same experiences in our lives over and over again. And yes, you are, and it's a result of your thinking patterns, which are incredibly hard to break.
Yes. Oh, that is so powerful. We have the most conversations with ourselves every single day.
God, I know.
Thousands of internal conversations. And I saw a podcast recently. Gosh, I could remember which one. I can't remember. Anyway, but the message is exactly what we're talking about here, is that so often we're having those same conversations in our head day after day, hour after hour. And that's how we start to believe about ourselves.
Sure.
Are these internal thoughts. So if you and I, JD, are doing this as adults, seasoned adults, think about our kids, right? Who are having those internal conversations, who aren't having conversations similar to how you and I had with our friends when we were growing up, right?
You're right.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And how do you break that habit? If it's all you've been exposed to is just your own internal mind, right?
Yeah. And it's let's be honest. It's hard sometimes to listen when
it's incredibly hard
when you're listening to somebody else, but in the meanwhile, you're having a hard time shutting off or pausing the voices in your own head that are telling you things, and they could be thousands of different thoughts that are happening just in the waking hours of your day. I'm too fat. I'm too skinny. I'm not.
Sure.
I'm not good at this. Or I think I'm great at this, but I'm not really sure. And we're carrying around all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And then we're expected to hit pause and to stop and clear our heads and listen to our husbands, our wives, our boyfriends, girlfriends, our teachers. It's not easy. It's not easy.
But if we don't practice that, JD, how do we turn it off? And how are we able to successfully listen if we don't put that into practice? That's what so much of the characteristics of this book, and even, the practice of circle, obviously, right, is the power of listening. You get a circle of people, one person's doing the talking. More people are listening than talking. But that's not something that we typically do day to day. Even at home, somebody starts talking and then somebody interjects because you said something that made them think of something else, and you never get to finish what you had to say. And we are not a listening society, are we?
No.
Or a very successful one.
No, you're spot on. I was reading your bio last night, and I saw that you went to Plattsburgh State University, and you were in NCAA Division III cross country runner.
Yes, correct. I
said to myself, as soon as I saw that, I got the mental toughness ding ding. There's somebody. So it's, in my opinion, and the only time I run is when I'm being chased, or if I'm chasing someone, like my kid. But here's what I know about runners, is that it's almost impossible to be a runner, whether you're running competitively or you're running in high school, track or field, college, or just to get in shape. It's almost impossible to be a runner and not have an incredible amount of mental toughness, because what you're doing is repetitive. You're hot, you're tired, your legs are burning, you need a drink, you want to stop. You're going uphill. You're wondering how much longer this hill is going to last. You're wondering how you're doing. Where are you placing right now? How many people are behind you? How many people are in front of you? Who do you need to catch up with? Are you going to get that trophy, that medal? Are you going to fail today? How's that ankle that's been bothering you for the last couple of weeks? These are all things that are running through your head, I'm sure, while you're running.
Mm-hmm. And I love that analogy, JD. As I've grown older, I definitely stepped away from running, but I have kept that I guess, that mental toughness with other things. That I got into hiking last year. That's become a huge mental toughness thing. I'm a fitness instructor. I do yoga, so that takes some mental toughness, right, in a different way, to be present and to not let those outside thoughts keep infiltrating your mind when you're trying to stay present. But yeah, the root of all of this that we're talking about today, and making those small changes, is to find that mental toughness.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that kind of the core of what someone might define as success in life?
Sure.
Right? And it comes down to hope, right? I think about these students, they're young, right? They haven't built up that mental toughness, many of them, through the different challenges. They'll get there. But with that, and just that feeling of hopelessness, there's just a lot going on with our students. So to shy away from or turn a blind eye to what the students really need isn't going to help them, right?
Absolutely true. And I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm thinking about the word perseverance and how, man, I wish someone said to me when I was in high school, I wish someone could have pulled me aside and said, look, I got a snapshot of your future. You're going to be paddling through some really rough waters that you're not aware of. You need to learn now what it means to persevere, because you're going to have to put your head down and push through some things in your life. And frankly, some of those things are going to be some not so great decisions that you're going to have to pay the price on. I wish someone had done that with me and given me that heads up. But you're doing that.
And it made me think of something I did this year for the first time, JD. It was probably halfway through the school year. And I decided to share some really personal stuff with my students. If you can imagine, I put 4 sentences up on the board. I didn't let them know that these things had happened to me, but I read the 4 statements, and I said, this happened to a really close friend of mine. I said, I want you to get in groups and tell me what kind of character you think this person grew up to have based on these 4 things that happened to them. It was amazing. The stuff they were just dissecting all of these statements and like, well, because of this, she probably grew up to be really insecure. Because of this, she probably grew up to be a strong mother, like all these things. So they're all sharing out, and I read the 4 statements again. And I said, you know what? I said, that friend is me. I said, these are 4 things that have happened to me. And I'm sharing this with you today, not for you to feel bad for me, for anything that I went through, things like that. I said, but I want you to see that I still show up. I show up every day. I said, guys, in my 23 years of teaching, there have been days where it's a struggle to get to work because of things that I'm going through in my personal life. It's a struggle to get up and put on my happy face and teach what I have to teach that day. I said, but I show up. I said, and that's my message for you. Like, just keep showing up, because you never, ever know. Like, your tomorrow could look different from today and a year from now and 5 years from now. I'm like, just keep showing up. That's all you got to do. And I'll be honest, these 4 statements, like, these are things that I think probably only 1 or 2 colleagues in that entire building know from my 23 years. But I felt comfortable enough with my group of students this year. I thought it was a message they had to hear. And, if it helps 1 or 2 kids just by doing a quick 5-minute lesson and for them to see a human side of me, and then I can dive into all the Englishy things that I have to do, like I tell them, then it's worth it. But the kids today, I'm not saying that I didn't need that when I was growing up in my generation, but the kids today, I feel, need that more than ever. They need the human side of people.
Yeah. Wow. Well said. tell me about the Brave program. Tell me about your freshman students.
Yeah. So, like I said, about 4 years ago, I took the students through the book. I did not binge it like you typically binge a book, right? You binge stuff on Netflix, right? Typically, when you're in an English class, you binge a book, like you spend a month. You're going to read the whole book. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. But this book, just because of how it's set up and the 13 powerful messages in it, just every week or two, we would read a chapter and then get back to it in a couple of weeks. So I kind of took the year to walk them through those 13 pillows, if you will, those 13 characteristics, and just a different way of teaching the book. There is also a program. I know many schools that have taken part in it, and I've been able to be exposed to it quite a bit. The Braves program, which is giving students empowerment, giving them the chance to be leaders and to take on roles in the classroom, outside the classroom, throughout their district. And it's just really powerful when you can sit back and you can be the moderator and let kids have a voice and let them be the change, if you will. It's a really powerful thing, a great seed to plant, if you will, for these students.
Heather Gottlob is a 20-plus year teacher at Ausable Valley High School, getting ready for a new school year right in front of her, teaching ninth grade English, and also one of the big-time team players with the Sweethearts and Heroes organization. I want to know your story of how you met Tom, how you met Sweethearts and Heroes, and how you became part of all of this.
Gosh, I think it was 5 years ago now, JD, that they came and they did their presentation at Ausable. And I remember Rick came to my classroom and spoke with some of the students after their presentation. And I was going through a challenging time. I was going through a divorce at the time, and Rick stood at the front of my classroom and he said to the students that being burned was one of the best days of his life. And it led to this powerful conversation. And I spoke with him. I don't even know if he remembers this, but I spoke with him after, and he shared with me that it's like a phoenix rising from the ashes, right? But to hear his story, and I know you know Rick's story, and just, again, going back to mindset, right? Like, so many people could go through that same instance and everybody's going to walk out of that differently, right? But to hear him share his story, and really his literal survival story, but really his mindset survival story, like, he chose to have that mindset, right? I mean, you can't give somebody mindset. Like, I can't tell you, JD, to sit and reflect every single night. I can try to instill those habits, but at the end of the day, it's you and your thoughts, and what you're thinking is powerful, but it's completely up to you. The mindset that you're going to have, how you're going to approach things, the perspective that you're going to have on anything that happens to you, small or big, every single day. And that was super powerful for me, to hear that message when I was going through a troubling time for myself. And since then, I come back to that time and time again, and I think about that mindset. And it wasn't soon after that I was connected with Tom, and then, he shared this book with me, and he was such a personable guy. And I mean, Thomas talked to like hundreds of people every day, it seems. Like, I don't think the guy sleeps.
I know.
I don't know how he does what he does, but since that, like, I could call him anytime and he'll make it seem like he's got nothing else on his agenda.
I know.
And that's how it's been. That's how our friendship's been for the past 5 years. And I'm sure he's exactly the same with you, but
he is
a special guy to be able to do that. He makes me feel valued and listened to and appreciated. And it was because of that that I just soaked up this Sweethearts and Heroes stuff. And it just seemed natural that, after reading the book, that of course, why would I not want to share some of these messages with my students, whether we read from the book or not? This book has planted seeds in my life that I just have naturally made part of my day-to-day life. So because it's part of who I am, of course, I'm going to share that with anybody in my world, whether that's students or friends or family or whatever. But yeah, it's been a powerful journey, JD.
You guys, I'll tell you, and I know I said this last time, and damn it, I'm going to say it again. Every single one of you that I have met from Sweethearts and Heroes has brought something so profound, not only to my airwaves and to my followers and listeners, but also to me on a real deep personal level. I have just absorbed so much from all of you, and every single one. I
appreciate hearing that. That means a lot.
I mean, Pat, Rick, Tom, it doesn't matter who it is. All of you have just brought so much to the airwaves, and I cannot possibly thank you enough. I hope that I get to meet you. I hope that we can all get together sometime.
Oh, I would love that. Maybe
Tom will spring for a couple of nights at a hotel so that we can all get together in one place and just be together. That would
be fantastic.
I'm
gonna put that on my bucket list.
I'm telling you, man. And it's like, and I said to God, I think I said it to Joe, who was on with me last time, that it's kind of a dream of mine that I can be part of a circle with just Sweethearts and Heroes people.
That'd be powerful. Super powerful. Let's make it happen, JD.
Oh, I would love to. Heather, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Oh gosh, thank you. Thank you. I love having these conversations, and this is super powerful. Thank you.
If your child's school is not yet connected with Sweethearts and Heroes, I'm not sure what you're waiting for. Get on sweetheartsandheroes.com. That's the point. That's the go-to right there. Learn about them, bring them into your school, and bring them into your child's life. It is going to make a huge, huge difference. I might even say guaranteed.
Thanks, JD.
Thanks, Heather. I hope to meet you soon. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
What a conversation this morning. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, for being part of the experience this morning, and thanks to our sponsors. We're gonna have some fun tomorrow morning. G is going to be with us. He's going to be kicking things into the gear and getting ready for the weekend as we approach it. Rex is going to be with us Friday. It's going to be an amazing weekend. We have a lot of stuff going on in our community calendar. Thanks for being part of the experience this morning. Make sure to give a like, a thumbs up, a share of any episode that you enjoy, any episode that has had an effect on you. God bless. Take good care. We'll catch you tomorrow morning here on Aired Out.